Hey, welcome to drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent black people. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. And today we're going to talk about Shannon Sharpe. Shannon Sharpe made a comment about Beyonce, and he kind of compared Beyonce and Taylor Swift, and also said that Taylor Swift is the closest thing we've ever seen to Michael Jackson. I'm going to explain to you why Shannon is wrong on multiple fronts, and also why racial bias actually plays a part, and why many have the perception that Taylor Swift is more significant than Beyonce. So get comfortable, hit the thumbs up button, give me a yes in the chat if you can hear me okay. We're going to get started on drboycetv.com right now.
Here we are, clan the isms, cataclysm, great. Our people out here struggling, trying to make it in this state. Everybody out here doing it, but we the ones too late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to cosign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on Dr. Boyce TV. Here we are.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent black people. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins, and hope you guys are doing well. I want to say hello to Lisa Love and Eric Williams. Good morning to you, and good morning to El Hodge and everybody else in the B1 family. Also, if you could, please hit that thumbs up button. Thumbs up, share, subscribe if you have not done that yet. So let's just jump right into the topic. So today's topic has to do with Shannon Sharpe. Shannon Sharpe made some interesting comments about Taylor Swift, and I really had to take a moment to reflect on those comments, because there's a side to this that I don't think media is going to cover. I think the mainstream media is going to miss it, because unfortunately we live in a dumbed down society where people don't really want to really think through things. They don't really understand, or care much about things like economic analysis or racial disparities, things like that. And so let me explain where I'm coming from. So Shannon Sharpe made a remark, and I like Shannon a lot. I think he has a great show. Club Shay Shay is very powerful, and he just killed it on the Cat Williams interview. And he made a remark about Beyonce and Taylor Swift. And basically this remark, and let me make sure I can quote him accurately here. He says, this is in a conversation that he was having with Chad Johnson, another guy who played wide receiver in the NFL. I think that Sharpe asked Johnson to share another celebrity who can match Swift's value, Taylor Swift's value to the NFL. Because as you know, Taylor's been going to a lot of NFL games. She's dating Travis Kelce, who is a tight end with the Kansas City Chiefs, and she's added a lot of economic value to the NFL. And so Johnson mentioned Beyonce. And then Shannon Sharpe came back, and I think he was trying to be respectful here, so I don't think he was trying to be nasty. But he said, Beyonce, not like this. These eyes, Ocho, these 8 to 15-year-old eyeballs, Ocho. I love Beyonce, but Beyonce ain't moving the needle like this chick. Ocho, no. She's the closest thing to moving the needle like Michael Jackson that we've seen. This is it. Okay, so so this is interesting, right? I like to we do something every morning in the Black Business School called Financial Consciousness. And and the consciousness exercises sometimes come down to asking very simple questions. So I'm gonna ask you some simple yes or no questions. First off, give me a yes or no. Have you noticed Taylor Swift at these NFL games? How many of you have seen the commentary about Taylor and noticed the NFL really hyping up the relationship between Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce? How many of you have noticed that? Give me a yes if you've seen this. And give me a yes also if you are aware of the tremendous multi-million, perhaps even billion-dollar economic value that her appearances have added to the NFL. Okay, let me know. All right, so I want to lay this out because you guys know my background's finance, and I want to make sure we understand that this is economic, right? This makes sense, and some of y'all are annoyed by it, but let me just tell you guys, look, I know I get it. None of us are Swifties. I don't think any of us in here, they call them Swifties. Those are the Taylor Swift fans that they love her, and I think that we can respect the game, right? We can respect the fact that she has worked very, very hard for many, many years to build a very loyal fan base, and whatever. And I'm not in that demographic. Similar to what I said about the movie The Color Purple, But just because I'm not in their demographic doesn't mean that they don't have a fan base. And in fact, a lot of you that are trying to argue that The Color Purple was a flop, I think that that's wishful thinking, to be honest with you, because I haven't seen any economic indication that The Color Purple was a flop. Right. So, so a lot of you have noticed the economic implications of this. Now I'm going to ask y'all another question. How many of you just think generally from a talent perspective that Beyonce is less talented than Taylor Swift? Give me, or better yet, let's do it the other way around. Give me a yes if you think Beyonce is the more talented one. If you think Beyonce is more talented than Taylor Swift, give me a yes, and that way we can get this out of the way, because a lot of us think that we're talking about who sings the best or whether or not Shannon was accurate and things like that. And and I think that it goes deeper than that, right? I think that it's deeper than just whether or not somebody can sing or whether or not Beyonce has value, right? Okay, so I think Beyonce is more talented too, right? And the reason for that is because you guys, most of you, are black. I doubt that there are hardly any Swifties that are in my audience, right? Me and Taylor Swift do not have overlapping demographics. I'm a 52-year-old black man. She's a 30-something-year-old white woman. It's a whole different world. Now, let me explain where Shannon Sharpe, where Shannon Sharpe's analysis falls off just a little bit. Shannon is making a comparison that I think reflects this odd racial disparity that exists in America, where you're comparing apples and oranges. And what do I mean by that? Well, when you compare the fan base and the economic impact of a 30-something-year-old white female who's literally sitting in the sweet spot in terms of economic support in America, to a black woman who still has a broad fan base, but doesn't have she's not. Beyonce is a lot of things, but one thing Beyonce will never be is she will never be a 34-year-old white woman. That's impossible. I know we got trans this and trans that, and everybody want to be trans, but that's not possible. I know Beyonce has lots of money, but I don't think her and Jay-Z, with all their money, can turn her into a 34-year-old white woman. Because if they could, that would lead to a huge economic impact. Now, one thing that's interesting about this, though, too, is that there was this comparison to Michael Jackson. And I think that's interesting. So let me ask you all a simple question. I did a survey on my Twitter. My Twitter is Dr. Boyce Watkins 1. I always like to know what you guys think, and I'm a statistician, so I use data. How many of you would agree with Shannon's statement that Taylor Swift is the closest thing to Michael Jackson that we've seen in terms of moving the needle? How many of you would agree that Taylor is the closest we've seen to Michael Jackson since Michael Jackson? Yes or no? Well, as you answer that question, I'm gonna tell you that the overwhelming majority of you said no. I did a survey on Twitter. I have, my Twitter isn't as big as Taylor Swift's. I have about 180,000 of you on there. It's Dr. Boyce Watkins in the number 1, Dr. Boyce Watkins 1, if you want to follow. And the answer was no. And I expected it to be no. Why? Well, because again, Taylor Swift and I don't overlap in terms of our demographics. I can't. My wife is from Gary. If I compared Taylor Swift to Michael Jackson, I would probably be kicked out of my own house. So I would probably get smothered to death in my sleep. My wife is from Gary, Indiana. That's not allowed in our house. So with that being said, though, I think that the offense that people took to Shannon's comment what was righteous and deserved to some extent, in the sense that, not that he was wrong. Look, we know Taylor Swift has a massive economic impact on the NFL. We already talked about that, and there's no question about it. I mean, that's why they are specifically told to talk about her, and they point the camera over to her and Travis Kelce periodically. And this is big money in media. Shannon understands this because Shannon understands media. Look at the success of Club Shay Shay. That shows that this guy understands how media works. So he's not just a great football player; he's a smart man, and I respect that immensely. But I think that when you're comparing Beyonce to Taylor Swift, you have to remember one important thing. America is not a majority black country. There are 5 times more white women in America than there are black females. Let me lay it out like this. Let me ask you this question. If America were right now, America, if you look at the demographics, about 30.9% of all Americans are white non-Hispanic females. About 6% are black females, maybe 6.5%. Do you think, what if we reverse those numbers? What if America was 30.9% black female? Do you think that Beyonce would then have the bigger fan base? If Beyonce and Taylor Swift were on tour and only 6.5% of the country were white females, and but yet 30.9% of the country were black women, who do you think? Type Taylor or Beyonce in the chat to answer the question, because this is an economic consciousness exercise that we're doing here. Who do you think would have the highest ticket sales? Taylor or Beyonce? What do you think? It would be Beyonce by a long shot. Beyonce would dominate. She would blow Taylor's numbers out of the water. So what you're looking at is not so much a comparison of talent or a comparison of business skill or marketing ability. What you're looking at is just race. You're looking at a differential in race. In terms of the white dominated economic system, white people are always going to have an advantage that black people won't have. And this is one of the reasons why I tell you guys, that's why I don't play that game. I'm not trying to be mainstream. I'm not trying to be on TV. I'm not comparing my numbers. I might do a video and get 20,000 views, but somebody else might get 200,000. I don't give a shit. My demographic is smaller than yours. My demographic is not a 14-year-old white boy. My demographic does not consist of 80-year-old white women. My demographic consists of intelligent black people who want better for the black community. So that's a niche on top of a niche on top of a niche. It's not even all black people. Even the majority of black people don't understand me half the time because I say stuff that doesn't make sense. It's okay. It's okay because I got you. I got y'all. And y'all, when I say y'all know who y'all are. If you're a y'all, put a yes in the chat if you know who I'm talking about. Intelligent black people, you are the people that go through life and no one really understands you, or they think you're being uppity because you believe black children should learn how to read, and that we shouldn't hate our women, and that we shouldn't go around rapping about wanting to kill each other, and that we shouldn't want to throw all of our wealth away, right? This is not the majority. This is not a demographic of 300 million people. So I'm never, ever in a million years gonna look at my numbers on my channel and say, well, my numbers were lower than Club Shay Shay, so that means that his stuff is better than mine. No, he just has a different demographic. He has pretty much anybody that is interested in sports, right? Which is damn near everybody. It's like a couple 100 million people. That's a pretty big demographic. My demographic's much smaller. So what I'm saying to you is I really want you to understand this, because I don't want you to get down on yourself. Because there is an inherent advantage in America that white people have when it comes to straight up numbers. When it comes to numbers and money, they always are going to have an advantage. Eminem is always going to have an advantage over Jay-Z. Why? And it's not because Eminem's a bad dude. I love Eminem because he's a damn good rapper. I don't care what nobody says. He's damn good. He also shows respect. He never ever runs around and wiggers his way out of stuff. He never runs around and says that white people were the inventors of hip hop. He doesn't do that. He gives full respect to us as the creators and the originators. And this guy has never done anything other than show respect to the black community. But he will always have a leg up on black rappers because he can hit demographics they can't hit. That's it. He just won't. Nas can. There are certain people that he can reach that Nas will never reach. Okay, so the reality is that this is the Taylor Swift Beyonce conundrum, and I want to make you guys aware of that because just for the sake of economic consciousness, it's very important for us to understand these things so you don't get caught in what I call the white supremacy trap. The white supremacy trap is where black people are always comparing what we have to what white people have. We compare our demographics to their demographics, our numbers to their numbers, our income to their income, our wealth to their wealth. No. When you're in somebody else's system, when you're in a system where they dominate in terms of power and population, you're always going to have a lower outcome 9 times out of 10, especially if you're true to your purpose. Now, mind you, though, there are exceptions. If I took my platform and I said, man, this whole being black thing, this whole appealing to intelligent black people, that audience isn't big enough. There's only maybe 2-3 million of you. I want to reach the whole 360 million people. So we live in a trans society. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to transform myself into a man who caters to young white women and caters to white men and just forgets about this whole being black thing because that just doesn't pay the bills. And I'm going to expand my potential audience base to a couple 100 million people. Well, you know what would happen? Number one, you will see my numbers go way up instantaneously instead of, and we've done okay in terms of we get like a few million views a month. So we ain't struggling over here. You know what I mean? We've hit 500 million views. I'm very proud of that. But you know what? I would be hitting 10 million a month instead of 1 million a month, right? I'd be making 10 times more money, right? And this is the temptation. The temptation for Black people, you got to pay attention here, is that you get tempted to dilute yourself because you're comparing yourself to something that you should never be comparing yourself to. When I compare my numerical outcomes in terms of moving the needle financially and demographically, I don't, first of all, I don't compare myself to any other people. I look at who I'm trying to talk to. I look at quality over quantity. And so when you compare Beyonce and Taylor Swift, not to say that Taylor doesn't have great music, not to say that Taylor doesn't relate to her audience, but I'm gonna tell you like this: I don't know a single Black person anywhere who walks around saying I'm a Swiftie. How many of y'all know a single Black man over the age of 30 who's heterosexual who walks around saying I'm a Swiftie, y'all? Go Taylor, I'm a Swiftie. We all Swifties up in here. I don't even know what the fuck a Swiftie is. I'm not saying Swifties don't exist. I know y'all out there. If you come, I hope they don't find me and start harassing me, because I hate that. I hate when white people discover me. It gets on my nerves. No disrespect. I don't dislike white people. Just y'all need to stop all that nonsense. But really though, there ain't no Black man I know anywhere running around calling himself a Swiftie. But I bet if I talked to my 13-year-old daughter and I said, how many of your friends at school, call themselves Swifties? And she would say, oh yeah, Sarah and Becky and Julie and Jen and Karen. They're all Swifties. That's what they would say. That's Taylor Swift's demographic. And they have big numbers. There's 30.9% of them out here. 13.9% of all Americans are white females, non-Hispanic. So their numbers kind of dwarf yours. There are almost 3 times more white females in America than there are Black people total, male and female combined. I think we're 13%, probably 12% now, because they just literally done busted down the border and let in a ton of people from south of the border. They do that, by the way. In case you don't know why they do that to dilute your numbers, because the Democratic Party within the next 5 to 10 years, they realize Black voters are waking up and we're not so quick to give our votes away. So what they're doing is they're letting a bunch of people in, and eventually they're going to give them voting rights, and your votes are not going to mean anything. In case you didn't get the memo, I just want to make sure you understand what they're doing. What they're doing is they're saying, okay, this whole thing about Black people actually thinking for themselves and actually wanting things from us, we can't live with that. So what we're going to do is we're going to let a whole bunch of people in, and then we're going to pass a bunch of laws that give them the same rights as citizens, even if they didn't get here legally. And that's going to dilute the hell out of the Black voter base to the point where we don't give a shit what Black people think. If you don't believe me, just watch. Don't believe me, just watch, to quote Trinidad James, but that was probably, and Bruno Mars. Like, don't believe me, just watch. I give it 5 years, 6 years. So anyway, do me a favor, please hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe. In case you did not know, we actually do Powernomics training every Wednesday night for free in the Black Business School. So if you want to take a free class in the Black Business School, don't ever let anybody make you think that the Black Business School is that you have to pay money to be a part of it. You do not. If your money is tight, that's okay. If your money's tight, we got you right. You can join us for free in this Powernomics training that we do every Wednesday night at 8:30. You can go to blackkeystogreatness.com. I'm going to put the URL on the screen. That's blackkeystogreatness.com. And we are building independent Black-owned media here. So we are also on Spotify. So if you look up my name, Boyce Watkins, on Spotify, you can find me there. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, we're talking about Taylor Swift and this conversation Shannon Sharpe had, where he was comparing Taylor Swift to Beyonce and basically making a seemingly accurate point that Taylor Swift moves the needle for the NFL a little bit more than Beyonce does. I do not disagree in premise with what Shannon was saying. I do not have any issue with Shannon at all. I respect him immensely. I think that he was trying to be honest, and I respect that completely. But one of the things I think that should be mentioned too is that I don't think that that's a fair comparison at all. And it's almost like comparing a pig to a giraffe or something, or an apple to an aardvark, because basically, remember, Beyonce does not have the potential reach that a Taylor Swift has. Okay, and that's something that I think should be considered when you start running around comparing numbers like straight up. Now, if you really wanted to make a fair comparison, here's what you would do. Beyonce's, what would y'all say? Let's do a 2 + 2 = 4 analysis. And the website is blackkeystogreatness.com. I can't pin it on the site. It's y'all on my phone and my thumbs. If I try to type that in, I'll just end up hitting the wrong button, and then next thing you know, y'all be gone. So what I'll do is I'll also put it on my Instagram. My Instagram is Dr. Boyce Finance. So I see you're asking me to pin the link to join tonight's class. I can't type in my tips. I would mess that up. So anyway, so let me ask y'all a question. Who would you say is Beyonce's greatest fan base, like most loyal fan base? Like which particular demographic? I'm not saying she doesn't have fans across the board. She has male, female, white, black, all that. But who really loves Beyonce the most? If you were talking about like just like straight up love, like oh my God, I'm in the beehive. Would that mostly be black women, you'd say? Would you agree with that? Give me a yes if you'd agree that black women love Beyonce unlike anybody else. A lot of people love her. Single women love her for sure. White women love her. And that's one of the things. She's got that crossover appeal, much more than I'll ever have. I was on the phone with Beyonce's road manager about 7-8 years ago, maybe about a decade ago, and I argued with this person for 2 hours because he was telling me that Beyonce and Jay-Z were very black conscious and everything else, and I said, but I wish Jay-Z would stop rapping about things that are not benefiting the black community. He should rap about things like wealth, like how he got his wealth. And I don't know if the conversation made a difference or not, but I know a year later, that's when that song 444 came out. And again, I don't even know if that conversation made a difference, but I did have that 2-hour back and forth debate with Beyonce's road manager because they swore to me that, that there was all this black consciousness. But the problem that you have in America is that because we're chasing white people's money, we hide who we are. We hide our black consciousness. We see that as being too radical, too dangerous. Like that's going to mess up our money. And I was like, come on, man, your community is struggling. Nobody wants to hear. I didn't like that album he did with Kanye in the sense that it was a great album, very talented. But why are you rapping about private jets flying over you? Like what is this stuff? Like you're telling struggling people how much better you're doing than they are. Maybe that's something about our culture that's unhealthy that we should address. Maybe we should address the fact that it makes no sense that we admire people who spit on us, and we look up to people who talk about your community like they want nothing to do with it. There's no pride to be taken in that. There's no pride to be taken in looking up to people who talk a lot of shit, rap about murdering black people, spread significant dysfunction through the community. I don't put Jay-Z in that category anymore. I think his music has evolved, and I'm very proud of that. But at the same time, it's like, Lord Jesus, man, like, are we really that desperate for people's money? Now, don't forget, remember, my background, just like Shannon Sharpe is great at football, I'm great at money. He won Super Bowls on the football field. I won Super Bowls in the field of finance. I was the only black man on the planet to get a PhD in finance in the year 2002. So everything I see the money behind it. And the reality is that because you're chasing that man's money, you end up selling your soul. You're chasing his money so much that you dilute yourself. You let go of the essence of who you are that makes you special. And then that makes you less of an asset to your community. And a lot of rappers are very guilty of this. And this is absolutely freaking shameful. So let's go back to my fundamental question. Would you agree with me that Beyonce's primary fan base is black females? Like, don't get me wrong. She's got other demographics, but I think I would say her stronghold is black women. My sister went to a Beyonce concert in Nashville, and then I saw her in Chicago the next week. And I said, why are you in Chicago? She said, because I'm going to see Beyonce. I said, but didn't you go see her in Nashville? She said, yeah, I'm going to go see her twice. That's how much my sister loves Beyonce. Okay, so remember, black women are about 6.5% of the population. Taylor Swift's primary fan base, the Swifties, tend to be white women, probably about her age, and 30-something-year-old white women. 30.9% of the population is white female. So if you wanted to make an accurate comparison, if you really wanted to compare, I don't know how much Beyonce's tour made. Let's say Beyonce's tour made $700 million. Taylor's tour made $1.2 billion. And that's the big headline. Taylor is person of the year because she made more money than Beyonce and whatever. Okay, blah, blah, blah. And I don't even think that those two, what I like about those two's relationship, by the way, is I like the fact that they don't seem to compete with each other in that way. They seem to support each other. And I think that that's good energy because there's no reason for you, like it's completely Eurocentric and capitalist for you to feel like you have to be number one to be successful. That's nonsense. You don't have to hate your so-called competitor. You can see them as a peer. And I love the fact that they work together. So anyway, let me do this. So if you wanted to compare Beyonce's numbers to Taylor Swift's numbers, then remember, white women are 5 times more of the population than black women. So if you want to make an accurate comparison, you would take Beyonce's number, multiply it by 5. Give me a yes if you follow the logic. Let me know if you follow this logic. Now, this is rudimentary logic. This is very coarse, very broad. But give me a yes or no if you follow this. If I really want to compare who's more successful, who penetrates their audience better, who has greater impact, Beyonce or Taylor Swift, and I was to look at, say, numbers, tour dollars, then because Taylor Swift has a bigger pool she can dip into, well, Taylor's numbers are not the same as Beyonce's numbers. You got to multiply Beyonce's number by 5. So that would take 700 million or whatever she made, multiply by 5. Now you got 3.5 billion. So it's much harder. Here's the reality. If Taylor Swift were a black woman, Taylor Swift would not have the same audience that she has. She would not have the same numbers that she has. And again, this is not me complaining to Taylor. I don't think Taylor caused this. I'm not doing a Kanye West and running up on her. Just so you know, I talked to Kanye on the phone for many, many hours, and I don't like the guy that much, to be honest with you. He's not fun to talk to, and that's why I quit talking to him. But the point of the matter is to say, so I get it. I get it. I didn't like what he did to Taylor and all. I thought that was highly inappropriate. But anyway, the reality is that there is an inherent advantage when you are competing on turf that is controlled by people who look like you. This is the point I've been making. I made this point a lot. If you read my book, The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power, you'll know that I've talked extensively about the fact that Black people have to develop our own spaces, our own ecosystems, etc., so that you'll stop trying to compete on foreign territory. Shannon Sharpe was a great NFL player. He won 2 Super Bowls with John Elway. Shannon Sharpe will tell you that that I bet you in his career, if you look at the number of games he won on his home field that he won in Broncos Stadium and compare the number of games he won on somebody else's field, he won more games on his home turf than he won on somebody else's turf. When they played in Mile High Stadium, they had the crowd cheering them on. They also had an altitude advantage when they played in the Broncos Stadium because it's the Mile High Stadium, right? So they won far more games on their home field than they won on their away field. And what I want you to understand is that as Black people, the same thing is true. You lose a lot of times in these stupid comparisons because you're always playing on somebody else's turf. No team can win a Super Bowl when all their games are on the road. You play all your games on the road. You go into white folks' spaces and compare yourself to them. And every time when you look at the numbers and you think that you're being fair and that you're just that there's no bias in the numbers, they'll say, well, we're being completely fair. We're not, race doesn't exist to us. We don't see race. We're just looking at the numbers. So clearly we know that the numbers are for the white lady are better than the Black lady. Well, of course, because the white lady's playing on her home field. When I was at Syracuse University, I was surrounded by people that didn't look like me. That I was on their home territory. So, of course, their numbers are going to end up looking better than mine because there's a certain inherent bias there. But bring them on my field. Bring them on my turf. Let me bring one of them crusty-ass white folks up in my space. Right? Let me bring them to the All-Black National Convention, and then let's do a contest and see who gets the most applause in terms of who is the most respected and has the most power and the most ability. Who do you think is going to win if we're playing on my field? Do you understand what I'm saying? What I'm saying is that, look, in America, the game is rigged. We know the game is rigged. But what I'm saying is that Black folks, I believe that you have the ability, if you try, if you're conscious, if you're financially conscious, this is why we do economic consciousness training every morning at 10 a.m. If you're conscious about it, you can rig the game in your favor. Nobody talks about that. Everybody just talks about how unfair the game is and how white folks always have the advantage. Well, of course, because you're always playing on their field. If I go to Denver and look, Shannon Sharpe was a great player when he played for Denver, but he played with a guy named John Elway who played quarterback. If I go to Denver and I do a survey amongst the citizens of Denver and I say, who was the most influential player on that Broncos team that won the Super Bowl in 97 and 98? Was it Shannon Sharpe or was it John Elway? Who do you think they're going to pick? Who do you think the population would vote for? In crusty and white ass Denver, white ass Colorado. Who do you think is going to get more respect and more notoriety in a positive way for winning those Super Bowls and more credit for winning the Super Bowls? The big black wide receiver, or the white quarterback, the guy who threw the ball, or the guy who caught the ball. Because remember, See, Elway, he gets credit for having these big numbers, but his numbers wouldn't mean anything if Shannon wasn't catching the ball. Every time he threw the ball, he needed somebody to catch it. Shannon was one of the best in the NFL at catching the ball. So in my book, when I look at Elway's numbers, Sharp deserves a lot of credit, because if you don't have anybody to throw the ball to, it won't matter how good you throw. But the reality is that because there's this inherent population bias, Elway's probably going to get voted as the one who deserves the most credit. And this is really true, not just on the football field, it's true all throughout society. And that's why, and I go back to my fundamental basic point, that's why Eminem is always going to get more credit than most rappers. Michael Jackson was unique because for some reason, somehow Michael Jackson was able to penetrate at a level nobody else can. I don't even I wouldn't even compare Michael to Beyonce or Taylor, to be honest with you, just because I can name about 25 or 30 Michael Jackson songs. I can't name one single Taylor Swift song. I just can't. Right. And for him to do that as a black man, I thought was extraordinary. And I think also when you compare Beyonce and Taylor Swift and their economic impact, I just don't even think that conversation needs to be had. But if you're going to have that conversation, you should have it in a way that says, yeah, well, relative to the size of her fan base, Beyonce has far more impact than a Taylor Swift. Okay. So you don't just measure people based on what the outcome is. You measure also based on what they're working with. Beyonce's working with a smaller fan base than Taylor, and that's why her numbers are not going to be the same. But her impact is far greater if you make that adjustment. Okay. So anyway, that's my 2 cents. That's all I wanted to say about that. I don't think Shannon was being stupid or anything like that. I'm a professor, right? So I'm going to see things other people may not see. And I wanted to make this point because I think that we spend too much time comparing ourselves to white people and feeling bad about ourselves. That's what I want you to understand. A lot of times we end up saying that even when you take race out of the equation, they always end up having better numbers and doing better than us, or we'll try to make the same amount of money. Or like, for example, there's no reason why I don't understand why black men in professional sports have not created their own sports league yet. And the only thing I can think of in terms of why they haven't done it is because they compare the numbers that the white boys are getting, and they say we can't make those numbers. We can't get that number, that many viewers. We can't get that much revenue. We can't do TV deals that are worth $10 billion. But it's like, no, well, because you don't have the infrastructure yet. You have to develop the infrastructure, and you have to be happy with what you have. You have to stop comparing yourself, because when you keep doing that, what's going to happen is that you're always going to conclude that they're doing better than you. You're always going to conclude that somehow being down with the other team is a step up, that somehow when they accept you, you're a better person, you're more worthy, you're more accomplished, your life suddenly means more than it did when only black people acknowledged you. And I let that go a long time ago. I can tell you on a stack of Bibles, I truly don't give a shit if the rest of the world ever sees me. And if they ever acknowledge me, they're going to acknowledge me on my terms. And my terms are that what we're doing as black people, as intelligent black people, is not only just as worthy as what you're doing, but in many ways is actually better. And if you want to come and learn from us, you can, but we're not diluting anything. We're not changing who we are. We're not going to try to fit in to your broken systems, the country that you're destroying, your poor, horrible economic habits. I mean, look at America's debt. Look at the way they're running this government. Look at the way they're running this country. They're destroying this country. They're absolutely, positively, 100% destroying this country. So why in the hell are you trying to imitate losers? That's what I'm saying to you. Why are you trying to copy all people that ain't winning? That don't even make no damn sense to me. It don't make no sense. You're looking up to rappers that are a bunch of degenerates, drug addicts, and alcoholics that don't take care of their kids and want to murder black people, but somehow that person's your hero. How the hell did he become your hero? Oh, I get it. That's right. I understand finance. It's the money. You see, oh, well, that black man got money, so he must be important. He's important because look at it, he was on the Grammys and they gave him an Oscar. But this man might be the biggest buffoon on the goddamn planet, and you will look up to a freaking buffoon and won't even acknowledge and admire the solid, intelligent people that are right there next to you. It don't make no sense. Make it make sense to me. It don't. It doesn't. And so let me just stop. Y'all getting me riled up today. I need to go I got up this morning with my wife to go to the gym at 5 a.m. and I'm always sleepy. So I need to go take a nap. So if I say something crazy, just know I say crazy stuff because the baby's sheepy. So I need to go get some sleep so I don't say nothing else that's going to piss somebody off. All right. So anyway, I hope you guys have a great day. God bless you. Thank you so much for listening. If you want to join us for Powernomics training tonight, we're going to meet at 8:30 p.m. You can go to blackkeystogreatness.com. That's blackkeystogreatness.com. It's totally free. Also, if you'd like to get text alerts when we go live or when I talk about stocks, things like that, just text the word BOYCE to 87948. Text BOYCE, BOYCE, to 87948. So last point I'll just make to you is, look up to yourselves, admire each other. Look at where you want to be, where you want your community to be, and admire the people that are helping your community get there, right? What do we want? We want basic things. I want Black folks to be healthy, wealthy, strong. I want solid families. I want us to be educated. And there's nothing radical about that. There's nothing extremist about any of that. And I believe that we should, as our heroes, admire people who are accomplishing that goal, not just the people that are either talking and not delivering, or people that are doing things that are destructive and getting paid to do that. Okay. Stop admiring the rich and famous and start admiring the righteous in your community, the ones who are the true leaders in your community. That's how you build a strong Black community in America and beyond. All right. So have a good day, everybody. God bless you. Thumbs up, share, subscribe if you haven't done it yet. And I'll see you guys soon. My website is boycewatkins.com. So feel free to visit if we can help you with anything, economic needs or stuff like that. I'll talk to you guys soon. Have a good day. Peace.
Here we are, clan the isms, cataclysm great. Our people out here struggling, trying to make it in this state. Everybody out here doing it, but we the ones who late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to cosign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on Dr. Boyce TV. Here we are.